Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to round decimals and how to order decimals. So first what we're going to do is the rounding decimals. And so the first thing you're going to need to know is that everything under the decimal, the dot, ends with th. So it goes tenths, and it also starts with tenths. It doesn't start with ones. So it goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and 100,000ths, and so on, so on. And then you get your normal placement values to the left of the decimal: ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So we're going to start out with rounding to the nearest tens, which is this one. And so what you do is you look for the one to the right, you look for the number in the place right of the number that you're trying to round, and if the number is 5 or over, you add one to this number, but this one's 4, which is under 5. So this number stays the same, so it goes 3, 9, 4, and then this number becomes a 0. And every number to the right of that number, of the number you're rounding to, becomes a 0 also. So all these decimals become 0, and you don't want to just put a 0 in there, because that'd be like saying I'm 10.0 years old. It's completely pointless. Okay, so we're doing the same thing again, 10. So we're rounding 3, 2, 2, which is ones, tens, so now we have the tens, and then if this one is 5 or higher, it's 5, so this one, we add 1 to this one, making it 4, so it's 3, 2, 4, and then that becomes a 0, and so does everything along, and since these are decimals, we just take them out. So now we're rounding to the nearest thousandths, and since it ends in th, we know that it's to the right of the decimal point. So we go tens, hundreds, thousands, and then we look 1 to the right, which is 7, which is over 5. So now we go 2245.14, and then thousands place 8, and then 7, which is over 8, so 9, and then it's a 0, and it's a decimal, so we don't need to keep it. So now we're rounding to the nearest 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take 650.9, and then ignore this for right now, 6, which is over 5. So we're going to go, and you add 1 to this, so it's the exact same thing as adding 1. So 1 plus 9 is 10, so you just put 1 in the tens place, sorry, and then since these are all zeros now, and you don't need to keep a zeroed decimal place, you just discard of them. So now what we're going to do is the nearest 1, which is the same thing, so 3, 1, everything besides that, no, everything before it stays exactly the same as the nearest 1, which just happens to be 1. What a coincidence. So then we look 1 to the right, which is 9, which is over 5. So this one becomes a 2, and then that becomes 0. So does everything else. And again, just discard decimals when they're zeros, except for if they're a placeholder, which. Now around to the nearest tenth. So we count down tenths, which we already found, and then we look 1 to the right, which is 2. And since 2 is under 5, 7 stays the same, so it's 413.6.7. And then since they're all zeros now, we discard them. Okay. So we only have 3 questions left. So now round to the nearest thousand. So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. We look 1 to the right, which is 1, so it stays the same. But we don't want to just discard of these, because then it would become from 3,000 to 30. So we have to keep those in there as placeholders, so it stays at 3,000. It doesn't just go down. And then we can discard of the decimals. Okay, now we're on to the nearest hundreds. So ones, tens, hundreds. We look 1 place to the right, 9, so that goes up to 4 and 0. And then this one becomes 0, but we need it as a placeholder. And then, okay, so this is our last question, round to the nearest thousand. So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So 9. And since this one is lower than 5, it stays like that. 9 and then 0, 0, 0, because these need to be kept as placeholders, and then you don't need those as zeros. Okay, congratulations, you've completed this puzzle. Now we're going to go over to the numbering decimals. So what you do this is you want to number them from lowest to greatest. And the first thing you want to look for is in the ones place. So what you can do is you can like separate all of these into columns. So it's ones, tenths, hundredths, and then so on, thousands, 10,000s. So what you're first going to look for is anything in the ones. Anything higher than this and lower than this, well, it can't be anything lower. So we just automatically go to the tenths place. So anything lower than this, so we have a 0 there, which is lower. We have a 1 there, which is lower. 6, and then 7. So that's good. And then we already know that this one's the lowest because of that, and it's so all we have to do is check with this one, and we have to look at the tenths. 0, this one's 1, so now we look at this one, anything lower than 1. No, no, no. So that one's in the right spot. This one, anything lower than 6. No, but this one's a 6, so we want to look into the next place. This one would be a 0. You can always add on to a decimal, but only to the right, and because it'll stay the same. And then it might make it easier for you to order them and round them if you have like rounding to the thousands and it only gives you a number up to the thousands. So this one's 0 and this one's 1. 0 is lower than 1, so this one stays in the same place. 6 and then 7's more than 6, so we have them in the right order. Correct. And it's not going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this, open it up again, and see if we get a new one. Okay, so that didn't take that long. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look anything in the ones place for any of those. No. And then anything lower than 1. 0. Yes. And then 1, 1, 4, which is higher. So now we're going to look at this one. 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4. So then we're going to look at this. Well, we don't really need to because we know this one's lowest. Then we look for this 1, 1, 1. And then we look here. 0. We're going to add the 0 there. 0, 2, 1, 2. And then we're going to look in here. So 1, 1, 4. So then 2, 1. These two switch because the 2 is higher than 1. And then we look here. 1, 4. 1's lower than 4, so this is correct. Correct, and now I'll do the same thing I did last time. So, okay, here we go. So now we're going to look for the ones place. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So now we don't even have to check that anymore because there are no ones. So now we're looking here. 8, 0. 0 is lower than 8. 1's lower than 8. 4 is lower than 8. And 4 is lower than 8. So this one's the last one. We don't really have to worry about it anymore. So then we can go 0, 1, 4, 4. So now we can look at this one. 1, 4, 4. And then 4, 4. And then we can look at the 1 now. 1, 7. So this is in the correct order. So we're going to do one more. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did for every other one. Look in the ones place. 0, 8. Well, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to look in the tenths place. 7, 0, switch. 7, 1, switch. 7, 1, switch. And then 7, 3, switch. So now we're going to look to this one. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 3, 0, 7. So that one's the lowest. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 7. 1, 1. And then they're gonna, you can add zeros for both of these and they'll go on forever. So this doesn't really matter. So now we can go to this one because we can skip this one because if this one's lower, this one's lower. It's 3, 7. So this is in the correct order. Finished. Well, it's correct. Let's see if we switch this one. Oh, okay, so now we're just going to do a little review of everything that I've just done. Okay, so here we are on our little page, so I'll title it Decimal Review. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down a decimal, so let's say 1, 2, 3.456, and then let's round it to the nearest hundredth place, so 100th place, so yeah. Now, so we look for the hundredth place, tenths, hundredths, this one to the right, this one. So it's like 3 lines under it, just tells looks like not equal to symbol. So we know which one we're looking at. So if this one is greater than 5, it's going to go up, and it is greater than 5. So this one becomes a 7. And now we can just leave the greater than 5 because it's not going to keep on going up. So 7. Nope, this doesn't become 7. What was I thinking? This one stays at 6. It actually becomes a 0 because once we've used it to up this one to a 6, that one becomes a 0. So now what we can write is just our number out. 1, 2, 3.46. And then since there's a 0 here, we can not use it because we don't want to keep zeros in our thing. It'd just be like adding numbers on and on forever. So now I'll do it. Now I'll use this exact same thing. So 4, 5, 6, and now we'll round to the 10th place. And so tenths, found it already. And since it's th, we know it's under the decimal. So this way, th, this way, no th. So 10th place, let me look 1 to the right. 5, which is 5 or over because it is 5. So this one becomes 5. And then these two become 0 and 0. So now we write out our number again, 1, 2, 3.5, and then 0, 0. But we don't need the 0, so we can just not use them. Okay, glasses. Anyways, so now what we're going to do is ordering numbers. Okay, so now I'm just going to write out a couple of decimals. 0.2, 1.7, 3.29, 5.00007. So now what we're going to look for is the ones place. So 0. Okay, so it's before. We're going to do it in a fashion of being like that. So greatest at this end, lowest at this end. So 0, 1, 3, 5. So now we're going to look at it. 1, 3, 5. Okay, I put them in order. Okay, so now let's do a different one that's not in order. So 1.09, 5.6, 0.99, and 0.02. So now we look in the ones place, which 1, 5, 4. So now we're just going to move this one. Since this one's 0 and it's lower, just move it over here, and we'll take its spot with the one. We'll move that one over here, and then we just look again, 0. This one's over here also. So now we'll look at this one, 0, 0, and they're in order. They're all, these two are both higher. So then we'll look at this one, 9, 0. So what we can do is we can switch their spots. And now we can look at, since we know this one's lowest because they're both zeros and this one's higher, and the only zeros we can go into this 5 and then 1. So we can so we're just gonna switch these two spots. So now they're in order from least to greatest because 0, 0, 1, 5, 0, and then 0, 9. So, and then I'll do one more before we end this video. So 1.2, 1.5, 1.59. I was thinking 1 point. Okay, so that was kind of pointless. It was just two things like so 1 point. So now we're looking. They're all ones. And now we look 1.2. So 0.2, 0.5, 0.5, 0.1. Now since this was 0.1, the reason I did all those ones is so that you can learn to ignore everything past